Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines, better known as the one-hand mechanic. If I can do it, you can too. Today we are working on a Black Max generator with a Honda-powered GX390 engine, and today I'm going to show you a few things. I'm going to show you how to remove and reinstall the carburetor. I'm going to have another video on how to rebuild it, in my opinion, and also a few things up top here where you turn it on is when this came in, this fuel shut off. This is the worst design I've ever seen. You can't turn these things on and off, and this was actually poked out of here. I wanted to show it to you while it was inserted in here, but this plastic collar is supposed to hold this in, and this is your fuel shutoff. It's nice to have a fuel shutoff, but this came in, it was actually hanging down under here like this, and believe it or not, it actually does work. If you replace these, they tend not to work inside here because there was actually a little, where it says off right here, and actually it sits up. The plastic is actually elevated and it's supposed to hold it in here. This collar right here has a little recess in it that is supposed to stay in, and whenever you replace these, you never get the same one, and they never, I don't know if this was replaced or not, but it doesn't stay in here. So what I'm going to do is take the plastic out, and I'm going to reinsert this like so, and then behind here there's a bracket, and so this guy will be easy to turn this on and off because it's extremely hard to, when you're using this, it doesn't even turn. All right, so basically what we need to do is turn that off, but to do that correctly, we're going to push it out here. There is a fuel filter behind here that we're going to replace in this right here, so it's actually easier to work on this thing when it's apart anyway. So we got to go ahead and turn the fuel off at this point because we're going to be taking the carburetor off. So let's go ahead and turn it off. Leave it hang down for now. We have to get into the air filter here, which is just a couple clips. And I'll put all the tools that I used at the end of this video. This just opens up here. Take the air filter out. Now, if the air filter seems to be really saturated on the bottom with oil, which is actually pretty normal because they do put a little bit of oil in these things, and a lot of times they just sit and it drains down to the bottom of the oil filter and you think you have a problem. It's not. Just squeeze this out. If you do overload your generator, sometimes it could pump oil out there, but usually that's not the case. I've seen a lot of these air filters saturated with oil, and you basically just have to clean it out. So we're going to go ahead and clean that out. But to get into this carburetor, we have to take off these 8mm bolts right here. There's a 10mm bolt down here. Okay, so I see that there is a little teeny gasket right here, and that just has to go in the crevice there. So I'm going to take it out for now. And then we'll put it in there a little bit, and we're ready to put it back in. You have to take off this 10mm down here. And we are attached to a vent. You don't necessarily have to take that vent tube out, but it definitely makes it easier, so we're going to go ahead and take it off. My clip tool that I use for everything. So we do need to take this backing plate off here. 10mm socket. It should pop off here. We have a vent tube right here. You have to pop off same time that you're pulling this out. Okay, so you just drop that down. Now this is a metal gasket with a rubber already on it. This is made this way. These are really nice. You don't have to replace these unless they're really, really bad. This is good condition. As you can see, this yellowish goo right here, starting right here, you can see that drip. This is from gas going bad that's been sitting. Now this has a diaphragm connected to the carburetor, and I'm pretty sure that this helps the surging of the engine when it's warming up. A lot of times if these engines surge, you're going to get fluctuation in power. This is on a generator, so it's pretty important that you try to keep the surging down. So when you pull the choke out, it's actually going to put, this is the choke lever right here. It's going to put it on choke, full choke, which it is. And then when you push the choke in like you're supposed to, it actually isn't quite open yet because it'll warm up and then this eventually will open up, and it's because of this diaphragm. But when we're taking this apart, we have to be careful how this is all situated in here. So if you need to, take some side pictures. This bracket will come off and it comes out of the hole of the carburetor right here, this little pin. So you can pull this off. And we are connected, the vent tube has to come through this too. So you're pushing your tube through as you're taking this off. And then you're gonna just pull that out, and we're gonna pull it right out, right there, like so. And if we're careful enough, we can just slide this off the tube, and there is a grommet back in there. Just pull it out like that. And we lay this off to the side. This is the tube itself. So basically you can just pull that down out of the bracket when you're up inside here, and then we'll just push it up into the collar. All right, so basically we just could pull this down off the collar, and then it'll just come out. We don't have to have this unattached. You can just hang this down. This is the gas that's coming off here, and you can already see it's yellowish, so it looks like it had fuel stabilizer in it that has gone bad, and the reason why we're taking this carburetor off is to rebuild it. Okay, so we're gonna have to go ahead and take this fuel line off. Now, granted, it has an off here. I'm just gonna go ahead and pinch this off with a fuel line clamp, just in case. And then we're gonna have to pull this off right here. That was actually, even though this clamp is on the carburetor, it's actually loose. I'm gonna replace this clamp with a one that we can screw tight. This is not very tight, and I don't want any gas dripping. We're gonna have to pull this off here. Be very careful. Now, if you guys are replacing fuel line, this is not the normal size of a lot of carburetors that we work on. So when you get the fuel line, you can see that it's like a 3/16. It's very small. Take a piece of fuel line to your small engine repair guy, and he'll be able to match that up. He probably has it in stock. Now, the carburetors are normally stuck to the manifold, and I just felt that this one is not. If they're stuck to the manifold, just get something like a mallet or something you can tap on it and pull it out while you're tapping on it, and that'll bring this out. We also have to get this little teeny spring off the carburetor. And if you're just trying to bend it, if you can do that, hold it right like so. Now this linkage right here will not come off. It does come off straight up in the air, but you have to pull the carburetor out. And we're gonna pull it almost all the way out. Then you have to turn this like so, hold it there. This should pop up out of there like that. All right, and the carburetor comes off. Now, if you have, on the bottom of your carburetor, if you have wires coming out of here, they basically go up around the engine. You're gonna have to unplug them. It's made by KEIHIN. These are the OEM carburetors for Honda, and they are great carburetors. So we're gonna go ahead and rebuild this, but that's gonna be on a different video. Okay, so I just rebuilt the carburetor, and I will put that in a link in the description below if you guys want to see how I rebuilt the carburetor, and hopefully you guys can do it yourself. This is the gasket that came off. I could not get the OEM gasket. Everybody was out of them. I'm using an aftermarket, and I always make sure when I use an aftermarket gasket that all the holes are lining up as they should. I'm going to go put that on. Put your carburetor on. Now we have to get the linkage on first. Since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and put the spring on. This is a 3/16 inside diameter, and then it goes to what I took out the old fuel filter, and this is 1/4 inch outside diameter on this, and it was a bear getting off. So this is 3/16, and they stretched it over a 1/4 inch fuel filter. That's a 1/4 inch right there. So obviously they could do it, and I left that just the way it was. It actually, I was able to get it on there. This one here, I went and got the screwable fuel line clamp because I didn't like how loose it was right here. This is only 3/16 right here, and then it comes out to 1/4 inch here. So I highly recommend using a 3/16 fuel line to the carburetor, and then what they had to do, which it might have to do with the fuel filter, is just spread it, and it worked. I'm gonna put your other gasket on here. That's a brand new gasket here, and I did check to make sure that it was the identical everything works there. I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel line on now. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and flush the line. I already flushed the line to make sure that we had no debris. Make sure if you have anything in your tank, make sure there's no rust. If you have bad gas in there, make sure you get rid of it. Start fresh. I'm just going to go ahead and slide this on. And I put it past the barb. That was a 1/4 inch size, so that's nice and tight. We have to go ahead and, the hard part here is we have to get this into the top of the carburetor choke. And so we're going to have to line that up. I'm actually going to close the choke with my finger. I just closed the choke, so that'll stick the plastic out so I can get the hole, and then slide. I'll make that easy. Slide that in. Just like this. Now you have to make sure this works. So that's on, and that is almost off, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So when it'll actually open up, it's spring loaded in there, but when this vacuum, when it gets warmed up, this will open up all the way and you're good to go. But when you pull it tight, you got to have a choke that works. The choke is on right now. Pulls this all the way out, push it in, and it will be opening all the way. As soon as the engine gets up to temperature, this will open up. The way it should now. Let's go around front and take a look at this. Started coming out here. All right. Need to get that on there. That's good there. Okay, so the grommet isn't connected to the tube. I thought the grommet was connected to the tube. You have to put the grommet and the tube up at once, but this tube will slide in and out of that grommet. So we just had to get that all back up in there. And everything looks good here. So we're going to go ahead and put the spacer with a rubber gasket on both sides. Make sure you have it lined up correctly. Then we have the base. That goes on. You're going to have to put the tube. The plastic tube's got to go inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and just insert that first. And then we're going to go ahead and put it on the studs, like so. And then it should just line up and go right on like that. Now there is a spot right here, a grommet on the back of this base that your fuel line goes up into like that. At this point, I'm just going to take my fuel line clamp off because we still have it off right here. And that gets pushed up in there. But then I'm going to go ahead and put this all up inside after we get this base connected. We can go ahead and tighten this up. Try to tighten them up evenly. So that felt little gasket that I took out in the beginning, I fished it all the way back in, put it in there. I just used a little screwdriver and put it back in there. I found the part number, but I think it's no longer available. As long as your air filter is sitting fine right here, shouldn't have any problem with dirt contaminating it. And the weird thing is there's a little slit right here, no gasket, but it just comes into that slot right there, so it's like a little puzzle. Should line right up like so. Put your longer bolts in. I'm also going to put the bolt for the bottom of the base in before we tighten everything up because I just want to make sure everything goes together. Always screw your bolts in first and then tighten them up. Going to go ahead and put the tube back on the bottom. Okay, I squeezed all of the oil that was in here out, and you can go by the graph mark on here and the graph mark on the outside of the air filter so you know it went this way. Back in again. And like I said, as long as your air filter is in there correctly, that little felt, even if you don't have it, it shouldn't be an issue, but it's nice to have. So if you have it, reuse it. And this guy here just, it's like little tabs. Tabs slide in first, and it closes like a door. And then click these over. This is where your spark plug is, right here. You should also do a spark plug wire here. It just makes sense. We're going to turn the fuel on. I like to let this set up for a little while before I start pulling on it. Now also, because the fuel is on, and this will only go in here when the slot's like that, so I'm going to go ahead and tuck this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip tie the fuel filter in its bracket. Okay, before we start this, what you want to check is make sure you check your engine oil, which is here, and most all Hondas have a low oil shutdown. If you can see this wire right here connects to, this is a signal unit that's inside the block. If your engine's not level, it actually can think that it's out of oil and you won't have any spark. So make sure that you, one, check your oil right here, and two, make sure that you're on level ground when you start the machine up, and we're up in the air right now, we're pretty level, and your oil should be just about up to the top of the oil right there. So to come back around to start this, this is a little weird on, this is electric start right here. You can pull start it or electric start it. We're gonna go ahead and electric start it. I'm gonna pull the choke out, fuel's on. This button here, the way it's shown is that you have to, you're pushing this down and you're gonna push, they're showing you pushing the black down, and then you're gonna push up on it for the starter. And then once it starts, we're gonna take the choke off. Okay, so it's smooth, it sounds good. So the rebuild on the carburetor worked well, and this was basically just how to show you guys how to take it off and put it back on again. If you guys want to stick around, I'll show you all the tools that I needed for this project for taking the carburetor off and on. If not, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, share my channel with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay, so the tools I use to take the carburetor on and off, just a couple pair of pliers here, one needle nose, one regular. I like my clip removal tool that I use on a lot of different things. A 1/4-inch nut driver. The gaskets, if I can get the part numbers, I will put them in the link in the description below for gaskets. This is the 1/4-inch ratchet, which I use with everything. You can just go ahead and use a regular ratchet with an 8mm socket. 10mm socket is what you need. And then I use an extension also. And a fuel line clamp. This one actually did not really need the fuel line clamp, but it's nice to have. And that pretty much sums up for the tools. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share my channel with friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.